So I just want to say that my name's Dr. Douglas Scarata, and this is Eric Waterman. And I've known Eric for a really long time, but it was kind of interesting because it's like, okay, I want to interview him. So I was like, I got to kind of learn about how you interview famous people. So I'm like learning how to do that. And they say you should do your homework. So like I'm doing my homework. So just to introduce you a little bit, this guy here, it's really impressive, I have to say. When he was 19 years old, he basically started college medical school, and in 6 years he got done medical school, which is crazy. Why am I not surprised, really? So he started medical school and finished medical school. 23 years old was when you got done, and you've been practicing for 25 years. Dr. Waterman is a facial plastic surgeon and an ENT, and so an ear, nose, and throat doctor does a little bit of everything, and we love general ENTs. If any of y'all are watching this, we love you guys. But I have to say that to do facial plastics is another level, and I'm not taking away from otologists who do drilling the OTA capsule, whatever, or head and neck cancer surgeons who do these crazy free flaps. But when it comes to the overall hierarchy of ENT surgery, doing open septal rhinoplasty is pretty much the top as far as I see it, because it's where kind of science meets art. And so I'm like reading about you and kind of getting myself up to speed, and I'm like, here's a guy who's really at the very top end facial plastics, and he's been practicing for 25 years in Seattle. He's one of the top facial plastic surgeons in Seattle and a general ENT. And then you decide, for some reason, this is what I'm kind of curious about, hey, I think I'm going to learn this in-office balloon stuff. How did that happen?
Well, it happened a lot because, my big passion in facial plastics is rhinoplasty, as we've talked about. And, partly because it is the most difficult and challenging operation we have. It's really something you can sink your teeth into. But doing a lot of nasal and functional nasal surgery and then sinus surgery, I was kind of intrigued by the idea of doing something in the office and not in the operating room. A lot of the facial plastics procedures I do, not rhinoplasty, are under local anesthesia with sedation. So I was very comfortable with people awake and talking to them, giving them oral sedation, giving them topical anesthesia, local anesthesia, and doing things in that kind of setting. So I thought, wow, if we can do something in the nose and sinuses that really helps and avoiding the hospital kind of scenario, that would be great.
That is awesome, because for me, I like this idea of how could medicine take that next step in our own field. I feel similarly that when you have to go to the operating room, then you have to accept the extra risk and the extra expense of going to the operating room. Someone puts a breathing tube down, they put you into a medically induced coma, they charge you $2,500. If you don't pay them, they won't take you out of no, I'm kidding. They'll extubate you and so on and so forth. Then you have to be in the hospital, and it's tedious for us as physicians too. You might only do 2 or 3 cases in a day because it's so hard to turn the room over, and the staff is so complex, and the bureaucracy is, well, a little crazy.
It is.
And so then when you move to the clinic, you can save the risk and the expense. But facial plastics, just for you guys to know, they're doing a lot of this stuff. It's truly where the art meets science, because it's easier for me when I was a general ENT to have a general anesthesiologist intubate the patient and so on and so forth, because I could be a knucklehead and no one would ever know.
Right.
But if you're a facial plastic surgeon, the person's awake, they can tell if you're any good or not.
Right.
It's interesting that you're pretty much the tippity top training and experience wise with ENT, and you say, now I'm going to take on something new. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting at this point in my life too. I'm in my late 50s, and a lot of my colleagues are either talking about retirement or they're on the countdown, they're burned out, they got 3 more years left, and I'm kind of looking at what's the next chapter in my work life. I'm not ready to be done by any means, and it's kind of this next chapter is super exciting.
That is awesome. So that's a good little intro, basics about professional-wise who Dr. Eric Waterman is, but we want to know so much more. So our next little video, we'll talk a little bit more about you. Is that okay?
That's good.
Awesome.